Hello, everyone, and welcome to Healthcare Business News. Today, I'm joined by Tom Mitchell, who is the president of Messe Dusseldorf North America. Messe Dusseldorf is one of the biggest trade show companies in the world with 30 trade shows, and Medica being one of the largest medical trade shows in the world. Tom, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
So I'm sure that you're speaking with a lot of industry people. When you look into your crystal ball, what do you see for the future of trade shows?
Yep, that is definitely the $100,000 question, and I've been dealing with a lot of the industry here since this has started in the last 2 months or so, connecting with a lot of people, especially in the U.S., about what they see and what things are going to happen. The short answer is nobody knows. But what is very clear is that our model is changing. Perhaps it's been changing for years now, but this is really forcing us to have a look at how we do things. To me, what's clear is that we will never lose the face-to-face aspect. I firmly believe that people want the face-to-face aspect. People want to meet. People want to network. They want to see and feel products and things like that that they're going to buy. So I do not believe that that will go away. This pandemic has caused us to pause that currently, unfortunately, and start to look at different ways to do things. So I think the real key going forward is we have to figure out how can we best engage with the kinds of people that we want at our events, both with the exhibitors and with the attendees. Travel will change. The way that people interact will change. There will be, I think it's clear, certain subset of people that will not feel comfortable, at least in the short term, coming to events anymore. So the question is, how can we still have them meaningfully participate? And that's what we really have to try to find a way to do. But in the end, this is a perfect example. You and I are speaking over a video call, but I think it would be a lot more conducive if we were sitting in the same room, maybe sharing a cup of coffee and having a conversation. The face-to-face part is a basic human nature thing which will not change.
Yes, I know that, as you probably know, RSNA, which is a big radiology trade show, is decided to go virtual. Mm-hmm. And you and I have discussed how an organization like RSNA that has content can stream that content. That's not always true of all shows. How is it different? How are some of your shows different?
Well, I think you have to make when you talk about virtual shows, you have to make the distinction between exactly that, content and what happens on the show floor. Content, conference content or presentations, seminars, those sorts of things, those can be, if done properly, streamed and done in a virtual way, because you can have a bunch of speakers, even not in the same room. The topics are known and you can have people logging in from, frankly, all over the world, and they can still get the meaningful interaction with the speakers who are presenting that content. When you're on a show floor, let's take RSNA as an example. If you need to go in one of the conference rooms and hear about the latest in radiological technology, you can do that virtually. But if you then want to go down to the show floor and company XYZ wants to demonstrate to you how their product works that you just heard about, to me, I think it's much better when you're in person and when you can actually touch and feel the product. That there are certain products which lend themselves better to a virtual setting. Maybe some things like cars or other things that you at least can see in operation, or perhaps graphics or even books. Maybe you can. There's the big book fairs in the world. You can look at books online and read about them and see what they are. But if you want to touch and feel a product, and if it needs to be looked at personally, I think that's really difficult to create virtually. I would bring up as an example, one of our biggest shows and most important shows is a wine event. We do the largest international wine show in the world every year in March. You can't taste wine virtually. If you're going to be buying wine for your restaurant or your hotel chain or wherever it may be, you want to taste the wine that you're going to put in your restaurant, serve your customers. So there are things that need to be done face to face. So that's the big struggle now, that everyone's trying to find a way to deliver the content and the experience to those who can't come to the event or won't come to the event. And I think that's where the struggle will be for the next 12 months to 36 months, frankly.
Now, you know, as someone who attends the New York Auto Show, I can tell you that I much prefer sitting in the car than looking at it online.
No doubt about it. That's you want to test drive a car eventually, right?
Yeah. So, do you believe that in the future, fewer people, only the senior people, will attend the shows? Will participation drop off in the future?
I think in the short term, across the industry, doesn't matter where it is, whether it's Germany, the US, China, you name it, I think participation will drop off for sure. And that is just a function of what we are in right now. If you take the airline capacity alone, airline capacity has dropped significantly. And there simply are not enough planes. If tomorrow the coronavirus 100% disappeared and everyone was fine with the health aspects, there are simply not enough airplanes in service right now, en routes in service right now, to get the people where they need to go. And so it's going to take airlines, and I've been on calls with American Airlines and others where they're talking about their plans and trying to get routes ramped up again. But until things like that happen, it's going to be difficult for people to even get there. You put on top of that, you have companies with travel bans for a certain amount of time. You have international borders that are still closed at this point, which those have to open up. So I think by the function of this, there will be less people. I don't know whether it's going to be the senior people coming or whether it's going to be the people who need to make the purchasing decisions. I think it depends on the industry. I do believe that we will get back to a somewhat normal level of face-to-face participation, but this will take some time for sure.
My last question, any idea how much time?
Yeah, if I knew that, right? I think for the next year, certainly through this year and into the beginning of next year, I think you're going to see much more reduced participation across the entire industry. And then once things start to, it becomes clear that things can be done in a healthy way, whether that's new hygiene practices, whether that's a vaccine, whether that's treatments. I think once people start to feel confident, it will come back. And I would throw this out there: when we had the last recession in this industry, the last true recession, it took about 5 years for the industry to come back as a whole to get back to the point that we're at now. And I'm talking about the entire trade show industry worldwide. So I think it's going to take a couple of years for us to rediscover how things work.
Well, Tom, this is very interesting. Clearly, you're a person with a lot of insight, and we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you very much.